Hello everyone, welcome to my homework 5 for ME458 and my name is Sohee Yoon, so let's begin. So my project or software that I developed is called the At-Home Photobook, and basically the idea is when I first came to Korea, I realized that there are a lot of photo booths and like every street there seemed to be at least one. And when I went to one of these photo booths, we basically take the image and then you get to kind of add a filter or some kind of design to your photo booth strip. And I thought, why not create one with the functions and image processing that we have learned in the course this term. So the idea is to create your own little photo booth strip at home. For the structure of the software, there are 5 parts, and the first part is to select start, similar to an actual photo booth, but without the paying part of it. You'll click start, and then you either get to load or capture the image. So just to know, OpenCV does not include a native file picker, so instead when you're loading the image, you're actually going to have to provide the file path in the command window. And then you're going to edit that image, and you'll just do that 3 times because the photo strip will contain 3 images. And then the fourth part is to design the background of the photo booth strip, and then you'll get to save the strip at the end. So for the development of the software, the course notes and exercise examples assisted in developing the image processing functions that will be used in the photo booth. ChatGPT Plus helped in the GUI development and unique drawing features when we're drawing the background of the photo booth strip. So let's just run through the actual software. So after you click start, you're gonna get the option to choose load image or take webcam photo. You also get to restart or exit the actual program itself. Here below, there's also a status bar here and it just said restarted. So let's choose the source for photo 1. So after you take an image, these are all the options for image processing that you're given, and a total of 29 image processing tools are provided, and majority of them just learned in our course. So some of these editing tools consist of basic, smoothing filters, binarization or edge, morphology, geometric transformations, region of interest or masking, and here at the last row, there's some software tools such as Reset Photo, which is for resetting your photo after you've done a couple image processing. You might not like the results, so you can just reset it to its original image. You can finish the photo, which will move on to the next step. You can restart the whole software program itself from the beginning to start, and then, or you can also like just exit. Because the software has over 1,000 lines of code, basically almost 2,000, we will just briefly skim over each image processing tool uh, in the demo itself, as well as just here in the table, we're going to go over some of the main functions used for the editing tools. So in basic, we have the grayscale, which we use CVT color, and then you just want to set it to gray in the brackets. Negative, which is the bitwise not function. Brighten, which uses the convert to, but you want to add a positive value to the pixels to brighten the image. For the darken function, you can use the convert to, which adds a negative value to the pixels to make a darkening effect. And then for contrast, you want to use the same convert to, but you're going to use some multiplies a pixel value by a contrast factor greater than 1. For the smoothing filter, you have blur, which uses the blur function we learned in class, Gaussian, which uses the Gaussian blur function, median, which uses the median blur function, and then bilateral, which uses the bilateral filter function. So for the binarization or edge, we have the global threshold, which just uses the threshold function, Otsu, which uses the threshold function as well, but you set it as threshold Otsu, so that it uses the Otsu function. Adaptive, which uses the adaptive threshold, and then sketch function, which is basically just you use a canny function, and then a Gaussian blur, and then a bitwise not, and basically it blurs the image and then it detects the edges and inverts the result to create more of a sketch-like effect. And then for morphology, we're going to use the erode with the erode function, the dilate for the dilate function, the opening for which uses the morphology X, and you're going to have to set the morph open to use it. And then closing is similar where you use morphology X, but you want to you want to set the morph close. So for the geometric transformations, we have rotate, which uses the get rotation matrix 2D, and then warp affine. And then you're going to have this custom matrix which kind of sets how much rotation will be required. And most of the geometric transformation actually have custom matrix which are set by the user. So translate also uses warp affine, and scale just resizes the image based on how much the user wants to resize it to. Shear uses warp affine as well. Flip uses flip, and then perspective gets the perspective transform and then warps the perspective. And then for region of interest or masking, we have region of interest blur, which we select the region of interest and then use Gaussian blur. And then we also have similar for negative, but we use bitwise not. And then crop as well, where we just clone the image. Circle mask is where we have a set circle, but the user can select the size of the circle. And then we're going to copy to with mask. Similarly, spotlight uses circle, and then we're just going to use convert to and then copy to with mask. And the heart mask is similar to the circle, but instead we're going to use a heart, so fill poly, and then copy to copy with mask. Now, after you have completed all three photos, you get to design your photo booth background. So you get to choose the background color. Here are all the colors here, and it'll just change color to this rectangle. And then you're going to draw or design your own ideas onto the background with your mouse by pressing and holding, and you can draw the features or whatever design you want. You can select the brush size here, and then you can also select the colors on the spectrum. And then once that's finished, you can save the design and then move on, and basically you're finished. So then you can click create strip and save your final strip into the same folder as the software. And you can also restart and then begin again with a new photo booth. So some of the development tips I have are basically you want to break down the software functions into smaller components, especially if you have many functionalities. So in this case, I had like 29 different image processing tools, and having all of them in one main function didn't make sense. So breaking it down to little functions as well as having some helper functions definitely helped out with the development. You want to keep a separate copy of the original image and the processed image, which allows the image to be reset as we have a reset button. And it's also good to keep the original copy just in case anything happens as well. And just keeping it separate from the original and the image processed image is a good kind of tip, I would say, when you're developing. And lastly, you want to update the status message after every operation, either on the GUI or the command window. And this helps the user kind of understand what's happening and really does assist in debugging later on when you're trying to figure out if a specific part is working or not. You can have these messages that pop up and just confirm that they have been ran or if they haven't ran. And thank you for listening. Let's move on to the demo. So we start, and then we're gonna load the image. I have saved the image path, and I'll just copy and paste it. And then here we have the Pikachu image and me just going through the grayscale, negative, brighten, darken, contrast, the blurs, the Gaussians. You can see as I keep clicking, they get more blurry as the image. And then we have the binarization with the thresholds at different uh, sections. And then we have to reset just to show more of the Otsu, the adaptive, the sketch, and then the road, the dilate, the opening and closing. And then for some of the geometric transformations, we have the rotation, just setting it at 45 degrees, and we can see that it has a rotated 45 degrees. And then we have the translation, and we're setting the X and Y axis, and there's some instructions in the command window just telling us how, in what directions. We have the scale transformation here, making it a bit smaller, and then the shear as well at 0.3, giving it a sheared image. And then we just did a flip as well with -1 being both horizontal and vertical. And then for the perspective, we can just choose. I had chosen the mouth section just to focus on like the mouth. And then we can see, we'll do some of the other sections later, but this is how we're going to save Pikachu. And then to take a webcam photo, I couldn't do a screen recording directly simultaneously. So this is actually just a pre-recording of me going through it. And there's the picture, and I just do the region of interest. I select my region of interest and blur that specific region. So for example, if I just wanted to blur my face, we can also do the negative of my face. We can also crop my face so that only my eyes, nose, and upper half just come up. And then we're just gonna do the circle mask as well, and we select the size of the circle mask just so that my right eye appears. And we're gonna save that and then take another webcam photo, the last of the free photos. And then here we're gonna do the spotlight. We're also gonna select the size of the spotlight, just setting as the default being 160. You can see how everything around the circle darkens. And then for the heart mask, we can see that a heart shape is made in case anyone wanted to do it with friends or their significant others. And then we can see I'm doing some of the global thresholds here, just testing it out on my face. And then that's just to finish the photo. And here's my design of the photo booth background. We're gonna set it to a blue kind of sky, and we're gonna select a green brush color so for the grass, and then yellow for the sun, just so that it's simple. And then we're gonna finish the design, and here it's finished, and we're just gonna create the strip. And here's the preview of the strip, and we save it, and here's the folder where it is saved, and we're just gonna open the folder. And that is all. I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and thank you for this great term. Thank you to the professor and all the TAs who've worked really hard this term. I've had a lot of fun watching my classmates' videos, and I look forward to watching the last ones. Good luck with the rest of your exams, and I hope you have a great summer.